Welcome to Goldfish on Games and the world of Blob, a core design game that was released in 1993 just for the Amiga. The back of the box gives us a hint of what we can expect, even if they did manage to cut off parts of the screenshots. And inside we find the game on a single floppy disk, as well as something quite cool, a nice poster based on the box art of the game. But the back of it doubles as the manual. And for all that space it has, it really doesn't go into enough detail on the game. Which starts with an on-brand bouncy tune, and a very bouncing blob on the screen, before then going on to show another title screen, and then another title screen, which will eventually lead us to the game options. That's a lot of title screens. And seeing there isn't too much to play around with here, let's just get into the game proper, which is this 3D style bouncing puzzle game, which you move around using regular controls, but holding down the fire button will make you jump. And there are tiles above and below you, so you can bounce up higher, or you can fall down to the layers below. And this is the game, you bouncing around between the various different platforms and the heights, you having to go up and down all the time. But be careful, as a long fall will hurt you, and falling out of the void, yeah, that's a lost life. And it would be around about this point that I'd normally tell you what the objectives or the point of the game is. And well, here's the thing. The goal to finish the levels constantly changes. And part of this game is actually having to work out what it is you need to do to finish the level. The first one, for example, is you having to find these little balls called spods. And that's it. And at least the number you need to collect can be seen on the HUD. So it's simple enough. But on the second level you have to find a switch that will show up the exit square, which you can't use straight away, as you then have to go searching for the blobettes. Now these aren't a band, these are baby blobs that got loose from your transport spaceship. That's honestly what the manual says, that you are a delivery driver for baby blobs, and that something happened to your ship and now you have to find the fuel spods, ship parts, as well as the blobettes. And once you found them, you'll have to guide them to the exit. That thankfully isn't too hard if you take small enough jumps, as they will just follow you along, and when both you and them touch the exit, then you finish the level. The third one is about teaching you about the different tile types, as the blue ones will slow your movement down and even stop your bouncing, which are very useful if you're falling at speed, as you won't bounce back, or even cause you any damage. And on this level there's even a fan that will blow you around as well. But this is also the first one that the time limit will become apparent, as yeah, on top of everything else, you are timed. And it running out isn't the instant life loss that you might expect. Instead, Blob's evil alter ego shows up and comes after you. And any touch between Blob and the anti-Blob will result in damage. Thankfully this level is a simple make it to the exit and that's it, so you don't have to go worrying about finding anything else first. But on later levels, yeah, you might have him following you around. And at this point you might think, yeah, I know where this is going. Wrong! As by the fourth level, you'll have to bounce on all the squares to turn them purple to be able to exit. What's that got to do with anything? Not a clue. But this also introduces you to the aliens, that will really try and get in your way, as if you touch, they'll deal damage, and trying to get past them can be quite hard, as they tend to track your movements as well. So you have all of this while at times having to fight the controls, as it's very easy to overjump or underjump a tile, or just hit the edge of a tile with too much force which will send you flying, or hitting a tile from below which can also send you flying, or end up building up too much speed that can be hard to bleed off, which can then send you flying. And what I'm getting at is, it's very easy to send you off flying. And 9 times out of 10, that's going to result in you heading off into the void and losing a life. The controls can take some time to get used to, but even then, Blob never feels 100% under your control, as it's way too easy to get knocked around by the things in the level, and it can be really difficult to get him back under your control after that happens. And that could just be hitting a tile wrong or getting knocked around by an enemy. It's a real shame, as I think this game has a lot of charm. Blob itself looks great and has a whole bunch of nice animations and touches, like the face he pulls when he gets hurt, and it will continue to change with the more damage it takes. And for those that are that way inclined, you even get a good look at his feet. I really like how the tiles fade in and out. It's all very cool and clever, but at times I think it might be a bit too clever for its own good, as if you hit some tiles with too much force, then you can crack them. Which is good if there's an alien launcher on it, as it will kill them as well, but from that point onwards the tile will crack more each time you land on it, and eventually it will break completely, which can make it impossible to finish some of the levels. And at that point the only solution is to jump into the void. The health system is also a little strange, as some of the damage that you take seems to be really difficult to recover, as the health tiles that you can find sometimes seem to do nothing. I think some of the stronger hits might actually reduce your max health, and this even persists between levels. And I think there's only a few health tiles that might actually restore your max amount, as the health tiles do come in various different colours. But the thing is, none of this is explained in the manual, so you have to work this out for yourself. Which is also one of the other issues with this game, as there's a lot of tile types and win conditions, and it's not always obvious what it is you need to do, as we've already seen. Yes, there's some small clues in the level name, but most of the time it is guesswork. And with the levels increasing in size in all dimensions, finding where you need to go gets increasingly difficult. More so when those arrow hint tiles are few and far between, and sometimes they just point to an empty area and expect you to take a leap of faith. And while you're trying to work out what the goal is, you'll also have to deal with the various aliens. And these range from being a bit of a pain to being a real pain in the blob, as typically you can only hurt them by landing on them at speed, and that's if you can hurt them at all. So if you happen to be underneath them, getting past them is far more work than you might expect. And even then, if you're above them, they can still knock you about or mess with your jumps. Now normally in games, baddies are there to be defeated, and there's something that you expect to find, and quite often you want to find them, as they make the game more fun and interesting. But here they exist just to annoy you and get in your way. They are rarely a welcome sight. That is, unless you find a shield that will show up from time to time. It will protect you from them, but it won't get rid of them. With 50 levels, there is quite a lot of content here, and even with the quite generous number of lives it gives you to start with, as well as the extra ones that you can find in the various levels, there is a very good chance you'll have to make use of the passwords if you want to finish this game, which are given out every 5 levels, though you will have to find the note tile in the level to be able to find out what it is. Thankfully there are bonus stages that you'll stumble across that will give you a chance of getting your health back as well as some extra lives, which is useful as the levels continue to get more devious and difficult as you go. Like having to deal with tiles that move every time you land on them. Or how about having a crosswind that will blow you around? So not only do you have to deal with the regular controls, but also having to work against the wind. There are slope tiles, so just landing on them will send you flying off in another direction. It feels like they wanted you to find new stuff as you went through the game, so they just kept adding more and more to it. Which is entirely possible, as the story goes that the developer, Jonathan Hilliard, made the whole game before shopping it around to various developers and publishers, with Core being the one that picked it up and hired him to finish the game off. But not before they did a pass on the game as well, which included changing the artwork to give Blob far more personality, but also providing feedback and input into the game. So it's possible that during all this extra time it gained a few extras that it might not have needed. But overall it's one of those weird it could only have come out on the Amiga style games, as it's unique, interesting and full of charm, and whenever I play it I have lots of fun, at first. And then at some point that enjoyment quickly turns to annoyance as I fail a level for the 5th time in a row, mostly due to some alien being an ass and getting in my way. And the quitting in anger quickly comes around. But it has that unique quality about it that makes you want to come back again, to experience the fun and enjoyment, even if it is just for a short while. And I think it might be time to head, before the latest rage quit takes hold. So until next time, I was the Goldfish, that was an intergalactic delivery blob, and this was Goldfish on Games. Thank you for watching this episode, I do hope you enjoyed it, and if you did then you can bounce down to use the buttons under the video, or you can even go lower and leave a comment. And if not, then you might want to teleport back up and check out 2 videos that you can see on the screen right now. So thank you again, and I hope to see you soon.